So the Changeling season finale gave us all the answers we were craving for, right? Well, not exactly. Let's talk about it now. Hey everyone, it's David Stark from Watcher Pass, and we did it. We made it to the finale of the Changeling Season 1, Changeling Season 1, Episode 8, The Battle for the Island. It comes to Apple TV Plus on October 13, 2023. It is the conclusion of the 8-part first season of the Changeling. Now, I wasn't sure if this was going to be a mini-series or a seasonal show. This makes it clear that it's a seasonal show because this episode gives us no closure. My hot take is, look, I think you should probably pass on it, and it pains me to say this because I love the first few episodes of the Changeling. I thought they were fantastic. I thought they were really well done, really well developed. This episode is just a disappointing end to a promising start for this series. It just is, it's not very exciting. It kind of takes place in one location. It is very short. It does leave the door open for more of the Changeling, but given the kind of precipitous drop at the end of this season, do we really want more? I guess probably, but this is a weird series because like most series will kind of start high, have a little bit of a dip, and then end strong. The Changeling started really high. I loved the first few episodes, and then it kind of like stayed and then fell in the last 2 episodes, and now is just like at the bottom. I really did not like this episode. I didn't think it was interesting. I didn't really give me what I was hoping for in a season finale. But you know what? That's enough for now. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the episode, a few things I liked, a few things I didn't like, and then really quickly go into a recap. So as you can imagine, there will be spoilers in the recap section. If you don't want to know what happens in this episode, I would turn it off when I get there. Before that, though, I'll keep it vague. I'll keep it spoiler-free. I'll let you know when I get to those spoilers. So, in the Changeling, Season 1, Episode 8, hey, we get Apollo again. He's been missing for like 2 episodes. Now we get him back. He is on the island with Cal and all the other parents who have had their kids, I guess, replaced by something. I think probably fairies, but we don't really know exactly. They're all on the island. And if you remember, I think 2 episodes ago, at the end of episode 5, Apollo and his weird friend had made it onto the island, and that's kind of when all hell broke loose. At the end of episode 5, we find out that Apollo's strange, nosy, and then we find out abusive friend actually is Kindergarten, this person that had been like posting horrible things to the Facebook page for Brian, that he seems to be the one who was sending strange messages to Emma, sending like harassing messages to Emma that would disappear and made her think that she was going crazy. That was who this person was. And then the series is like, you know what? We're not going to tell you anything more about that for a while. So episode 6, episode 7 came, no updates. Now we're at episode 8. Apollo's back. We're back on the island. And now we have to fight for the island against some sort of force that it seems to be intent on destroying everything around it. So, things I liked about this episode. Well, the first, hey, look, I already mentioned it. Apollo. We get to see Apollo again. I was waiting for this because it was very strange to have this really nice build-up and then just boom, no more Apollo for 2 episodes. And now he's back. So we get to see more of Apollo. We get to see kind of what is happening, what is going on in current times. And that leads me to the second thing I liked. Hey, it's a current time. It is the current time. No more backstory, no more strange asides that were very, very well acted, but didn't really seem to contribute much to the overall story. We're in the current time. We get progress on the story behind Changeling. And the last thing I guess I liked, more Changeling. This leaves the door open for more Changeling. This is clearly a season finale, not a series finale. We will presumably get another season of this show. I hope that it's better. I really, really loved the start of this show, but it did not end well for me. So, look, I'll probably keep watching it. I like the cast. I like the characters. I like the world that it built until recently. So I will probably jump back on for season 2, and I guess that's a good thing. So, that being said, things I didn't love as much. The first, the CG. This series has done a really good job of not kind of relying heavily on CG. This episode seems like there was a decent amount. There was some pretty bad CG for like a cliff scene. There was some bad CG for like a water scene, a few water scenes. Some of the backstory had some bad CG. It is very noticeable, and it's something that I have not noticed before. So again, this is kind of a jarring way to end this season. Second thing I didn't love as much, this is kind of spoilery, not super spoilery, but I'll just kind of give you a spoiler thing here. Be careful. If you don't want to know anything, there will be a spoiler here. Imaginary monster, the big antagonist, the thing that everyone is afraid of, you don't ever see. It's this like imaginary thing. I don't know if it's invisible. I don't know if it is just kind of like off in the forest. They don't really tell you. It's kind of implied either way. It's kind of lame because it doesn't really it doesn't evoke any scares. All you see is these like the trees move and then like something will launch from the forest, and you don't ever get to see this thing. So it doesn't really give you much terror. It doesn't really give you much fear, and it makes these action scenes, these like thriller scenes, just not really hit like they should. The third thing I didn't love as much, I'll call it one location. Like there is a very brief stint where there is a little bit of another location, but overall, this episode takes place in one location. You'll notice in the recap, the pictures are basically all of the same place because that's all only place it is. Everything takes place on the island. You don't get much variety. You don't get a ton of progress. It feels like this is just kind of like a short end note to this overall season. And the last thing I didn't love as much, kind of related, too short. Like really, this is the season finale of this show, and it is 30 minutes long. And it's not even like a full 30 minutes. We have a 5-minute recap of like what happened before with various scenes. It is helpful, but it is still like 5 minutes of a 30-minute episode, including the intro. So I guess it's like, 3.5 minutes of recap, 1.5 minute of the intro sequence. Then we get the actual show. Great. It's about 23 minutes. So a standard TV episode. And then that's it. And that's the whole thing. Like this is the end of this series, and we get kind of shortchanged. It felt unfulfilling. It felt like it left more questions. It didn't really give us the answers, or at least this didn't give me the answers that I was hoping for. It just felt almost like, I don't want to say insult, but it did feel kind of like an insult. Like I have a season finale. I want it to be long. I want it to tie all the storylines together, give us something exciting, give us some answers, and then boom, set us up for the next season. This one just felt like it was we ran out of funding. We didn't have enough time to shoot everything. Let's just end this and we'll figure it out next season. Like it's like we'll figure it out in post, kind of, they'll get this done, ship it, and then season 2 will kind of answer more questions, give a more fleshed out story. It didn't feel like a fulfilling way to end this. So I've been pretty negative on this episode because I didn't really like it very much. I didn't like the way that this season ended. It had such a high promise and then kind of ended with a very sour note. So that is the Changeling season 1 episode 8, the season 1 finale. Like I said, I think you should pass on it. That's just my disappointment with this episode. If you've gone this far in the Changeling season, you are going to watch this ending, and it's only 25 real minutes, so you might as well just finish it. But it was just not a very good episode for me. So speaking of which, I'm going to get into a recap of why I didn't think it was a good episode. So if you don't want to know what happens in this, I would turn it off now because there will be spoilers. So we're back on the island. Apollo has just found out that his friend is Kindergarten, this like horrible, abusive poster who posted these terrible, terrible memes. Sent these screenshots, these like stalking screenshots to Emma. He's a pretty terrible person. So after he finds this out, we hear some like noises and movement in the forest, and we see the trees move, and it's like the T-Rex scene from Jurassic Park. Something is coming. Like I said in the things I didn't love, you don't ever see what this thing is, but something is coming. So Apollo, realizing that there's probably some danger, runs away from Kindergarten, goes towards the theater where all of the residents of this island are gathered having story time. And while he's running, he hears some screams and then sees like an explosion, and he sees the theater like go up in flames. And then he hears some more sounds, and another building goes up in flames. So either this thing is magical, maybe it shoots invisible fire, I don't know. It does something to destroy these buildings. Apollo gets in there and he sees the destruction. He sees the like theater/library kind of ruined. There's books on the ground. He sees someone's body. You can't really tell who it is, but eventually we find out it is Greta, who is Kindergarten's wife that he had separated from and kind of used as a reason to go to this island and try to get her back. That's what he said. It seems like he wanted to draw her in so he could then unleash this imaginary monster to destroy her. So she did die, but it seems like everyone else survives. He hears someone outside. He sees Cal, and he sees all the other residents of this island packing up, getting ready to leave. They're like, we have to leave. We have to get out of here. They hurry over to this cliff. The cliff seems to be the way out. It's a cliff. It's a sheer cliff that heads down to the water. They figure if they can get to the water, they can escape from whatever is attacking them. And you hear the monster. You see like trees moving in the distance. Again, you don't ever get to see it. all the residents start climbing down this rope, this single rope that goes down this cliff. Apollo wants to help one of the mothers, and so he takes the kid that he has become kind of connected to. He really is like watching out for her. I think he met her like once and read a story to her, but he seems to have really kind of attached to her. So she holds on to him while he goes down the rope, and Cal, being the leader, she goes last. So as they're going down, it seems like pretty much everyone gets down safely. But as Apollo and Cal are going down, you hear the monster, and then you see like some rocks fall, like something hits the rocks or something like that, and some rocks fall. And Cal gets like beamed in the head, like she is bleeding. Like, it looks real bad. She holds on though, but this causes like Apollo to get nervous. So he tells everyone below to make like a rescue net, essentially, like to catch this girl, and he drops her down. She goes down, she gets caught by everyone, she survives, but now Cal and Apollo are the only ones left on this rope. Now, the rope thrashes again, and Cal loses her grip. Luckily, Apollo is apparently just freaking ripped, because he grabs her arm while she's falling, holds on to her as he's holding this rope with one arm. I mean, that is impressive. Good on you, Apollo. You have been working out. I love it. But unfortunately, this doesn't really help him when the rope gives way. Something like cuts the rope or lets the rope go, and Cal and Apollo are falling. They fall down. Cal, being the leader and having followers, they try to catch her. They blunt her fall a little bit. No one does anything for Apollo. He just, bam, hits the ground. He wakes up a little later. That girl that he is attached to is kind of like getting him to wake up. Apollo is alive. He's in pain. His arm hurts. He's dazed, but he's still alive. Cal also gets up and is alive, and she is, again, bleeding profusely from this like head wound. Doesn't look very good for her, but hey, she's a tough leader. She gets up and she moves everyone along. They get to a dock that is just past this cliff and get all the residents up onto this boat that arrived. Again, I don't remember how they do this, because I didn't think that they had cell phone service on the island. Somehow they were able to get a message to the Navy, the volunteer Navy, to come and get them. So everyone gets onto this ship except for Cal and Apollo. Cal tells Apollo to stay back. They have a different ship for him to take, and she says, "Trust me." She sends that ship off. That ship goes, taking everyone but Cal and Apollo out into the water. So after that ship leaves, Cal takes Apollo to a little rowboat. The same rowboat that Emma took, apparently. I don't know how it got back, but the same rowboat that Emma took. That's what Apollo takes. He gets in, and he's like, "Cal, come on." And she's like, "I'm not going with you. You go on this journey." And then she tells him, that she's going to stay behind, that she's tired, that she just wants to see her little boy again. She's been kind of leading the charge for a very long time. She feels like she is ready to kind of move on. But she says, "Apollo, you need to find your wife." She says that Emma said Brian is in the forest, and there's only one forest in New York. So she gives Apollo the direction he needs, tells him to go. He starts paddling away, and then we see Kindergarten up on the top of this cliff, kind of like directing something. We don't see the monster, directing something to attack the ship that had already left. And a tree like flies out from the cliff, goes and doesn't hit the boat, but gets relatively close, makes you nervous. So Cal takes out a pistol and like starts shooting at Kindergarten. He's like 200 yards away. I don't know how far, but he is really far. He's up a cliff. It's dark. She has a pistol. She shoots like 3 shots and hits him in the stomach, which is, Cal is a freaking sniper, like dead eye. Like, I don't know how she was able to do that. She does. Cal tells Brian, "You got to go, like, get out of here." Brian's like, "What are you going to do?" She's like, "I'm going to show him my claws." And then she goes to take on Kindergarten as Brian paddles away. She like climbs up the cliff. Now remember, she has a bleeding head wound that dazed her, and she just fell halfway down the cliff. Seems like she would be in a lot of pain, but she is able to climb up the cliff. Oh, and also during this time, it starts raining. So she climbs up this bare cliff with her hands in the rain when she could barely make it down the rope earlier. Again, it's fine. She now has motivation. She climbs up there, gets to the top, has her gun. You're like, all right, she's going to take out Kindergarten. Nope. Kindergarten surprises her. Boom. Hits the gun off. They have a big like fist fight. It is violent. It is brutal. It is actually pretty entertaining. Like it is a good kind of like brutal fist fight between them. Eventually, though, Cal gets the upper hand. Kindergarten thinks he's won. He like goes to look at the boat, and she kicks him in the nuts, gets on top of him, grabs a rock, and she beats him like to within an inch of his life. And then Kindergarten looks up at her and says, "She's gonna kill you, you know," which he's referring to the monster that we never saw. And Cal's like, "I won't give her that chance." And then she takes a stick and like breaks it, and then like stabs Kindergarten in the back with a stick, which that seems very painful. She must have a lot of force to be able to just shove a stick through Kindergarten. Again, Cal's a strong old leader. She's able to do it. And then she stands up, looks back, apparently sees the monster because she kind of like looks up, smiles, and then throws herself off the cliff. So again, she didn't give the monster the opportunity to kill her. She's doing it herself. After she does this, we see this nice scene with the constellations. Earlier, Cal had mentioned this like story, this like Greek mythology story about the creation of Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, how they were put up there so that they could always be like in the sky, the mother and child looking at each other. It was a kind of a nice story. Well, after Cal dies, Apollo is sad, but he looks up at the sky and he sees those two constellations and they merge. So Ursa Major kind of goes and like joins with Ursa Minor. Looks like they finally were able to be together. Symbolically, Cal is now able to be with her son who disappeared a very, very long time ago. So I guess kind of a happy ending there. And now we get kind of a montage. Now we see Emma. We finally see Emma again. We haven't seen her since episode 6. She is at the park. She's at Forest Park. Again, the forest in New York is Forest Park. And she's walking through. And as she's doing this, we hear that story that Apollo read as a kid, this like nursery, this like kids book that had like terrifying imagery about fairies and whatnot. They read that as Emma is going to the park. And we also see Apollo rowing his boat. Now, there's the kind of like juxtaposes these two scenes. So as Emma's exploring the park, Apollo is rowing his boat. Emma is exploring the park. She eventually finds like a lit up merry-go-round in the park. And that seems to be maybe where she was being drawn to. It seems like that was her final destination. And after Emma finds this, we see Apollo finally made it over to New York. He kind of docks his ship, gets out. And so we see they're both going for Brian, just in very different ways. Emma says, "I'm coming for you." And as she does this, her eyes glow. Now, earlier, Cal had mentioned that when Emma was rowing to New York the first time to get her son, her body like started to shimmer. It was like when she needed to protect her son, she like got her own inner power and her body like glowed blue. And it was a really weird effect. It didn't really make much sense when I saw it. And it also looked bad. It was like bad CG. But now we kind of understand that she was kind of drawing on her own inner power to save her child, and she was using that to propel her forward. Well, now she's at the carousel. She says, "I'm coming for you," and her eyes are glowing blue. So apparently she is going to become Super Saiyan to save her son. Apollo also gets out of the boat. He's exhausted from the trip. He says, "I'm coming for you," then passes out in New York. His eyes don't glow. He doesn't have superpowers. He doesn't become Super Saiyan. He seems to just be tired. So that is kind of the end of that story. And now we see, it seems like maybe extra scenes, but it also seems like maybe a preview from season 2. This could be because my screener wasn't complete. I'm not 100% sure, but we then hear Kindergarten's voice that says, "We are Kindergarten, 10,000 men with one name." And we see William on the computer, like, and it's a weird thing because he's like on the computer. It's in like a control room. It's soundproofed on the walls. There's a screen up top with like a Zoom meeting with a bunch of other weird looking creepy people that apparently are other instances of Kindergarten. They all have this like scarecrow like burlap sack mask on, and Kindergarten is watching these like cameras that appear to be in like a mine tunnel or like an old tunnel. Then we see Brian like in a grave of some sort. It's like a grave, or maybe it's the entrance to that tunnel. He opens up this thing, which apparently looks kind of like a coffin to me. And inside we hear a baby laughing, and he reaches in, presumably maybe he's going to go see Brian, and it bites him. And he pulls his hand back and it's bloody. Okay, great. Then we also see Apollo going through the tunnels, like these tunnels that we saw in Kindergarten's cameras. Apollo's going through those tunnels, and he gets to like a dead end, and the camera kind of zooms in on it, and then boom, a giant eye opens up. Is this that monster that we were never able to see before? Is this some other New York underground sewer monster? We don't know. You don't know much. That is the end of the episode. That is the end of this season. Again, not the best end of a season. We don't really get that many answers. Don't really get that much closure. Sure, it sets up season 2, but I was kind of hoping for more. So that is the end of the Changeling season 1. Apollo's alive. Emma's alive. They're both pursuing Brian. Kindergarten is apparently still alive. Hal is dead. And the mystery continues. So that is the Changeling season 1, episode 8. It comes to Apple TV Plus on October 13th, 2023. Just in time for Friday the 13th. So if you do watch it, let me know what you think. Let me know what I got right and wrong. Let me know what you liked and didn't like. I'd love to hear. I'd love to hear if maybe you like this more than me. Maybe I am just jaded at this point. I don't know. I just did not love this episode. I really, really loved the start of the series, and this was just a very disappointing end. So thanks so much for watching. If you like this review and recap, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.